tilting toward solstice. That huge, unimaginable bird, wingspan wide as a woman is tall, rises this morning early, lazily almost, as if on an updraft, up from the backyard black walnut tree, over the neighboring field, full of October corn and the crows of Van Gogh. No bird you can name, not the confident turkey vulture sure of its rightful place with the dead, nor the great blue, having roosted too high. No water near, but a bird perhaps only of the mind's reach, the heart's depth, harbinger on this morning covered by ground-hugging fog, cold coming on, the going down of the light, the fading aureoles of the trees, which, it is wise to remember, is only temporary. Going for pansies with my mother. Flat-faced flowers, you had to have them, black, purple, butter yellow, just like you had to have unfiltered camels. Chili dog luncheons at the Diamond Department Store cafeteria with your career gal friends. Coca-Cola's forbidden to children. Hershey bars hidden inside your sewing cabinet. The rutted road we took, you at the wheel, me riding next to you. The only special trip we ever made, just us two, lay deep in the hollows beyond our GI Bill, fresh dug suburb. Each time the little house would loom up, not noticing right away the scraps of curtains. That first year, we'd taken it for a chicken coop. The rows of bright annuals lined up for sale in flats by the sagging porch, all the beauty there. The folded bills you always slipped her, that other mother, went into the washed-out apron hanging over her bag of a dress. I don't remember her eyes, nor those of the girl my age who one year got way taller than me, then on her rail-thin frame, surprising breasts. The last year she hid, the girl, halfway out the doorway, her body racked with a cough, even though it was almost summer. Before we left, I saw you walk out behind the house with an old shopping bag from the Diamond to where the mother was pegging out on a line huge denim overalls. As we drove away, I felt almost against my will. My head turned, saw my sweater from last season, too small for me, too small for the girl, draped over her shoulders. Back home then together, into the dirt of our steep terraced backyard garden, we rooted the little pansies. Daily it became my job to water them from the hose. Flooding their roots, I'd just stand there, hating you, hating me, the girl, hearing that cough, meeting the pansies' empty gaze.
Yeah.
And West Virginia was a lot of things. I hadn't thought to read this, and then I realized after Howard's poem on Easter that I would also read this poem. Easter. After the first death, there is no other. Dylan Thomas. When her mother told her about the baby, the one swelling Mrs. Kell's tummy they'd all been waiting for, how it had died right away, its little lungs never opening up enough for air. Patty, who breathed books, had expected palpable sorrow, maybe poems. Instead, she and her best friend Ellen baked as planned anyway from a box, a chocolate cake that came out sloppy, icing dripping all over, for the coming home from the hospital party. No one mentioned Janet, which Patty found out was the baby's name. Much later, college, Patty's family had moved and moved. She and Ellen no longer pen pals, only the one awkward visit back. More news came. This time, the named was Mary, 1/3 of the trio. Janet had never made it, a quartet. Ellen, Laura, Mary, the youngest. An image still fresh of all of them ready for Easter Sunday church in their new outfits. Mrs. Kell had stayed up all night to finish sewing. Coats called dusters, the latest style in solid colors, overtop matching gingham checked dresses, straw hats with ribbons, pink, yellow, blue. Blue had been Mary's, of course. Tomboy as she was, the one who ate dirt, the one they called Monkey, dead now, Ellen's letter said, of a tumor on the brain at 14. Never woke up from surgery. A pressure point, they told her it was, not the truth. Not that going to sleep that morning might mean never waking up. Well, it was the 50s. Later, Mrs. Kell had 2 more children. Patty's mother thought it disgusting, birth, which meant sex, at her age, although only her grimace said so. And that's why now grown-up Patty won't let it go, still seeing them the way they all were, that scented, soft-lit Charleston morning, Ellen, pink, Laura, yellow, Mary, blue, Mrs. Kell, Helen, fingers still bleeding, smiling, while the 3 of them stand there all in a row, smiling back, all of their eggs still in their baskets. Thank you. I've never, ever forgotten those dresses and those hats. Yeah. This is a poem from a dream. And in this poem, the title of my chapbook from Foothills, it's called Down the Middle with a Nickel, a memoir of a West Virginia childhood in poems. The title is explained. The poem is called Middle, from a dream after reading the poet Jack Croner. And this is because in his poem he talked about the Kennedys. And then I had the dream. Jack and Jackie, in that convertible speed away in your dream this morning, past Jack. Dreams are like that, who's just standing there. They fling him a fish, a big fish, which he, grinning, catches in his hands, and he's also the other Jack, your father, also dead. Dreams are, yeah. Your father's wearing a loose hemmed shirt, untucked, over the portly middle he sported in late middle age, grinning too, the way he might have been back at the Fairfax, where his parents rented rooms to tourists at Ocean View in Virginia, before it burnt down, when his father caught fish with him, along with Hike, who come up from Florida for the work and lived in a little shack out back. You always thought his name was Hike until last year, when you found the old photo with Heick in pencil scrawled on the back in your father's handwriting. All 3 of them stand there grinning, Hike and your young father skinny as poles, hands heavy with strings of fishes. You remember the cherry popsicles Hike would get for you and your sister, even though he was poor, and how he'd split one down the middle with a nickel. Hand each of you half, how the sticky juice ran red all over your hands while you sucked it down to the stick. And now we move to Auburn Prison. This is from my book, The Crows of Copper John, A History of Auburn Prison in Poems, and this goes from the 1800s up to the present, actually, and I've been a volunteer there. It'll be 13 years coming in June, doing poetry with the inmates. This poem is called Elam Lins, and there is a prose introduction before the poem. Believing there to be profit in stone quarrying, Elam Lins, a warder at Auburn Prison, contracted in 1825 to take 100 convicts by boat down the Erie Canal and then the Hudson River to Ossining, New York. Kept on short rations, forced to sleep out of doors, these men built the original structures that became Sing Sing Prison, after which they were marched inside its walls and locked back up. Lins went on to become head warder at Sing Sing, where he had a long, although intermittent, and terrible reign. Infamous for his egregious cruelty, few knew that he had originally worked in the town of Auburn as a hat maker. In this trade, mercury, a mood-altering poison, was used in the processing of the materials, thus giving rise to the phrase mad as a hatter. And I made this connection. I've read nothing anywhere else that has made this connection. Elam Lins. A hat is merely a hat. Mute it sits. One may work the pliable felt hard around a mold, fashion, trim, adorn. Atop a head, no true testament to the maker's craft. Unworthy it squats. Then inside a closet, often closed, finally forgotten or consigned instead to charity's obscurity, out of which a baser head will surely claim it. But a man, now, a man may be truly fashioned, pummeled till it shrieks, by no earthly ribbon decorated, mold it completely, adorn it by blood, wear it forever as a crown to grace your own fine, immortal head. And more, we're running out of time. All right, well then I'm going to have to skip ahead a few things, and I want to read something I have just written. This is something that I lived through as part of a beleaguered community in Boston in the 1980s. Snapshots from a Plague, Boston, Massachusetts, 1982 to 84. After seeing the film Dallas Buyers Club and the play The Normal Heart by Larry Kramer, and I saw that play this year. Browsing the paper you write for, out jumps a headline. Mysterious gay cancer cases multiply. What the fuck? What next? What else can they blame us for? You score a free ticket for the Human Rights Fund dinner. You and 300 gay men eat chicken. As you're leaving, you look back, see the cleaning crew all wearing enormous, bright, yellow rubber gloves. Your pal Gino from grad school, famous for his parties at the brownstone he shares with his lover, a professor of Renaissance art, and his longtime companion, another professor, orders in sets like Thai food. Gino's got it, everyone's saying. Gino's got it. Jane, the woman you're seeing, a nurse, volunteers for home care, tells you she's sure she just saw Kevin, her favorite, 6 months dead, trimming her Christmas tree. Every time you call her, you hear what Peter's T-cell count is now. He won't last till Easter. Every time any of you meet, too much leaning in, whispers, he looks like a survivor of Auschwitz. Did you see him? After staging all his goodbyes, your editor's ex, Jason, swallows enough hoarded Nembutal to take himself out. When he wakes up still alive, he just takes it all over again, plus more. Finally, the phone call comes. Your editor, Paul, keeps a leather-bound journal, enters every name. Jason's brings the count up to 85. Summer, and all down Charles Street, in silence, row after row of marchers stream, all in green, carrying banners of green. Living, they say, living, living.